Shanti. Sister Cicely, are you there?
Yes, I am, brother. I'm Shanti.
Shanti. So I've been seeing pictures of you in India, is that correct?
That's correct.
So tell me, what have you been up to? How has everything been?
Everything is great. I hope you can hear me all right. I went to a BK retreat in the Himalayas, in Ladakh.
Ah,
So it was on a 7-day retreat, which was really lovely. There's about 30 something of us. There's a big group. And then from there, I'm now in ORC. So I'm in
wonderful.
Delhi now.
So what did you do in the Himalayas?
It was a retreat called Magic on the Mountains. And so we had Yogesh Bai was there, and Brother David from Madhuban that plays, or the musician there, right? So he was there. And it was just really very lovely. It was just the experience of being with family and sharing from Yogesh Bai, and we went on walks. We went on these trips all over the Himalayas and stuff, and it was just wonderful, really wonderful. Yeah, I can put my picture on.
It sounds good to see you. It sounds wonderful. And
It is wonderful.
what are you? It's a bit of a unique idea, it sounds like. I don't remember hearing about a retreat in the Himalayas before.
Yeah, very unique. Yeah, some of them stayed on. They're still sort of touring around the area. Some of them have gone in groups to further tour, but I decided to come here because there's 2 souls that I have met on social media. One I've done business with, the other one I'm sort of met through the other. So they come in here tomorrow. They've got this pull to come to Shanti Retreat Center. So I decided to come here and meet them. So they're going to come and spend the day here with me tomorrow.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, they're really like the one soul. She said, Cicely, I've just got this pull to come to Shanti Retreat Center and be here. And I'm looking forward to meeting you. So I decided to take that extra step and come and meet them here.
Yes, Brahmins are so clever at combining business and social with always wanting to do some level of service of connecting souls with Baba.
Yes. Yeah, I always do that. I always do that. That's one of the things that I always try to share, because I think it's the only way that one can do business together very well. Otherwise, there's going to be conflict. So I like to give them Baba's introduction, and it's much more easier. There's less confusion and as to what should be done and how it should be done. I think it works really well for me, brother. It works well for me.
Absolutely. So what have been your spiritual reflections then on your journey?
I think that Baba, let me be honest with myself and with others, that I've never had the experience of family. I've never had that experience. And I think I had wonderful mother and father, beautiful mother and father. Baba, my dad took the course, the Raja course. And, but extended family really didn't appreciate me. Let me say it like that. They did not. And so to be there in the Himalayas together with the Brahmin family and living just so beautifully and harmoniously in a place like heaven on earth, I think Baba wanted to give me the experience, because if you don't have that experience now, you can't go to Golden Age, right? Because I won't know what it's like. So I finally got that experience with the Brahmin family, and I've got all these invites to Bahrain and Dubai and Kuwait, all these invites to go all these places, and also to have the Lokik experiences of family in Egypt. So I'm having that experience there too. So it's the first time I'm having that experience, and I believe that Baba wants me to. It's all Baba wants me to experience it, and I'm experiencing it very beautifully.
When you say Lokik experience in Egypt, do you mean your physical relatives, or do you mean people generally giving you that feeling of family?
Well, that's a good question. When I went to Egypt, I met this wonderful family there who have sort of adopted me as Baba's adopted me. They've adopted me as their sister, and they call me Sister Cicely, and the entire family, the mother, the you know, Ahmed, who I met, who he works with the tourists there in Egypt, and he's such a wonderful Baba's child. Like he recognized sharing Baba with.
We just lost you there, Sister Cicely.
Hello?
Sorry, yeah, you're back. You were talking
Okay, yeah.
about you were talking about Ahmed.
Yes, Ahmed, he's a wonderful soul who has recognized Baba right away, and he's been sharing Baba to he works with the Egyptologists, he works with tourists, and he's just been sharing. His whole family now are with Baba, and they listen to the Murli every day. And the last thing he said to me before I left to go, it's just wonderful to have that experience, and they have so much love for me in the where I've never had that. So there was a bit challenging because I'm so used to being on my own, and then to have this entire family love me was quite a bit of a new thing for me. So it's good, and they have so much care, and they right now they want to know, when am I coming back? They miss me. And it's lovely. So now I've experienced both Lokik and the Lokik, and that's important for me to go to Golden Age. Otherwise, I wouldn't know what it is. So how could I go there without that experience?
And are you based in Egypt, like as an ongoing thing? Is it like a service posting?
It was an inspiration from Baba. I was in Ghana for 5 months, and then was February, and I said, okay, I'm going to Egypt.
Oh.
And I ended up in Egypt, and I met Ahmed, and everything just evolved from there. And so Ghana was a little tricky for me, but I realized that Baba wanted me to be in Egypt. That's where he wants me to do service, because it's a great place for tourists come. There's a lot of tourists come there, so I'll meet lots of souls. In fact, Ahmed just sent me a picture of someone he met from Nigeria that is waiting for me to come back. So he told the soul about Baba, and the soul is interested to know more about Baba and all of that. So and Ahmed said to me, he said, you don't understand, Cicely, we were not in, the religion that they had there in the Arabic countries. And he said, we were not in that. And you come into Egypt has helped us, the entire family, to understand about Baba and be with Baba now. So he's grateful for me being there. So I would say that's more of a base for me right now. Egypt's that base until Baba says, okay, you need to go now. You've got to go here. So yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting how Baba does work through inspirations and touchings. And so you were based in New York, but you had some flexibility where it wasn't too much for you to just uproot and go elsewhere.
Yes, and so Baba knows, so first I went to Ghana. I was there for 5 months, and there's some wonderful brothers there now too that are doing great there. I got a house and everything. I thought I was going to stay in Ghana, but that was not what was supposed to happen. And then the inspiration came to go to Egypt. It was for me to go there because there'll be more service to many different souls. And I've met some souls who have come as tourists. And I've also shared some aspects of Baba with them. There were some that had children that have been very insightful. These souls, these wonderful souls, are very insightful. The children, one of the little girls said to her mother, "Mommy, I see her light. I see her light." It's like, you do, really? Tell me, what does it look like? So it's a great place for me to be because I can serve many souls. And Ahmed is sharing Baba with everyone. So he's really Baba's child. He's doing an amazing job, that soul.
That's beautiful. And it's interesting what you were sharing around your own process, really, surrounding your experience, your sort of less experience with your Lokic family of that feeling of belonging. And I always think the external world is the reflection of the inner world, and the inner world connects with the outer world. And certainly I can see within myself how my intellect has developed all sorts of defensive mechanisms for my heart. And so when you're used to being alone and independent, it's all part of this intellect training itself. So originally we were just naturally open and happy and welcoming and belonging. And it's a relief that Baba tells us for half a cycle, it's going to be safe to be just cheerful all the time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in the Iron Age, we have these experiences where the intellect then goes into overdrive to protect the heart. And so
Yes.
it sounds like Baba and drama are working together so that your intellect can feel safe again to just roll
Correct.
back a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. That you're very right. And that's because I was beginning to feel like my personal space was being encroached with this family. It's like, I need my space. But I recognized it, which was good. And I had to talk to myself and said, Cicely, what are you doing? This family loves you. What are you doing? It's because I've never experienced it. So I felt like my personal space was being encroached. So I'm okay. And I'm working it out really well. Very, very well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand. And it's always a balance with these things, but I can understand your process and your journey, and also it regulates our responses and plans in a sense as well. So sanskars, they really want, it says a Brahmin, the sanskars want to come out to play with people. But then part of us doesn't trust them because they usually get attached.
Yeah.
And so you've got this over-regulation sometimes that our intellect does. And so it's very interesting that, you know, how the inner world interacts with the outer world. And the karmic accounts we have externally are also then replicated internally. So you could have, like you mentioned, it was like, I don't know if this is the right word, but like a shunning experience from family members, or you're not quite feeling as welcome. So
That's the right word. Yeah.
Yeah, in the inner world, your intellect will also do that to your sanskar. It's like there's a karmic connection, and there's karma in our inner family. And the external family is really the reflection of that inner karmic account as well. And as we work with Baba to create self-sovereignty once again, and there's like a big mistrust within ourselves.
Yes.
You'll see some Brahmins, they're heavily reliant on sanskars more. They're like heart-based. They don't trust their own intellect. They won't want to take decisions. They won't want to, not just Brahmins, I mean, any souls. You'll see souls who they want to go much more on feeling and heart-based, and when you ask them to take responsibility, plan ahead, that they don't want to trust their own intellect. They would prefer to trust someone else's intellect. And then you've got the other type of person, and I think you and I are that type of person, where we trust our intellect too much sometimes.
Very much so.
And so we would prefer to make our own mistakes rather than sometimes just follow sanskars. And like you're describing, I think at Confluence Age, we all have to balance.
You have to balance, yeah, because even I question, it's like, even the little children, the 8, the 7-year-olds, and they just want to come and be with me. And I'm like, why do you want to be with me? They said they don't know. They just want to be in my presence. So there's that intellect questioning. Like, why do they want to be with me?
Yeah.
And they don't know. They just know that they just want to be in my presence. That's all.
Yeah. So people tend to see our sanskars and sort of our wider personality. That's what they experience. But we perceive everything through our intellect. And so the intellect is sort of in this is a backseat driver a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And it's cautious. It's always, it hides,
Yes.
and it hides behind a lot of our external joy. And then it's ready to jump and take control again. And for
Mhm.
us to develop trust is a slow thing. And so
Yes.
I think that it sounds really wonderful, your experiences in this retreat and afterwards and before in Egypt.
Yes. Thank you. It was wonderful. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. And Lynette Ben, good morning to you. How are you?
Good morning. I'm Shanti, brother. I'm fine. Thank you. Sister Ambi said she apologized for not being here because she had another commitment this morning. Last week I leave early because I had a repair person coming, so I had to leave early. I apologize.
No problem. Great that you're here. I think there was another sister also connecting, but she couldn't connect. And maybe others will join. They'll come and go. But I know that usually about another 100 people or so watch these chit chats, and so people will tune in whenever they can, and they often like to listen. So great that both of you are here today. And Lynette Ben, how's your week been? What have you been up to? Cicely Ben has been traveling, so she's been sharing those experiences. What about you?
It was very nice of that sister to share that. My week has been a little bit up and down. I'm reading on Baba's Murli, even the one from this morning, the Murli from this morning is saying, the more you advance yourself in yoga, the more you become, closer to Baba, the more obstacles will come in your way, the more test papers will come in your way. And I have been experiencing some of that this week, where you have these Tamaguni souls that you have to deal with. And sometimes it could be overwhelming. And then I would sit down and ask Baba, where are you? I need your help. And
Yes.
sometimes you just go off, but you come back understanding that this is drama, this is how it is supposed to be. And I was looking at that topic that you chose today, which is so appropriate
Oh, good.
To help these souls and the evil spirits that are around. So I'm looking forward to hearing that Murli today.
Yes. Well, I definitely am aiming that we'll go into the Morley slightly earlier, because I think the Morley will generate questions and discussions, and I want to leave sufficient time for that. But I understand, and you see, it's vital for us as Brahmins to understand that ups and downs are part of the progress of moving forward. So a down does not mean going backwards. This I think is vital. And confluence age means that all souls who are part of the Brahmin family are hurtling towards their karmatic deed stage. Right? So whatever we do, it will take us to our karmatic stage. That is the destination. It is not possible not to get there. Now, Baba says to us that journey can be a bit bumpy. And you're going to have some weeks where everything is just smooth and easy. And that's great. And we all, of course, need that, because it's at those times we begin to feel our higher self. And then we have different moments which remind us that we're still human as well. And so I think that I've learned over time just to really embrace the human side. Now, with regards to your experiences, I've also had a couple of experiences this week. And this is why I chose this morally topic as being appropriate too. And then I enjoyed listening to the Borg message from New York. You might, if you've heard it, you might recall that Baba was saying to us, you need lightness, you need happiness, and you need detachment. You know, you're going to need these qualities in order to take good decisions. And then we had the blessing today also on this concept of karma yoga and good decision making at the right time. And I was just speaking now with Sister Cicely about this relationship between the heart and the head, the intellect on the sanskars. And we all souls are different in our inner universe. So I've had a week of a couple of interesting things and a couple of challenging things. So firstly, the interesting things, Ranjan Ben and I visited an exhibition at the university we live near. We live near a university called the University of Warwick, and I'm an alumni of that university. And they had a public event on the sun. So they combine science and creativity. And if you can imagine a house-size sun installation, and they were projecting the actual pictures from NASA onto this sun. So we had the opportunity to actually see the sun and then explaining how the sun is multi-layered, chromosphere and photosphere and its core. So we were learning. And as Brahmins, when we learn about Lokik knowledge, we learn about science, we always relate it back to the morally. And we think about Shiv Baba the sun when we look at the knowledge of that sun. So I was very interested to learn about that the sun has a core, then it has this layer of, it's like it's gas, and there's the nuclear reactions are happening in that layer. Then it has a layer which is where it's like fire and it's burning. Iron is from the sun, the element of iron, but because it's so hot, iron exists as a gas rather than as a solid in the sun. Then it has another layer, which is the light, and we see the light form of the sun. Oh, we shouldn't look at it, of course, but we experience that light. So it got me thinking of how Shiv Baba in his core seems to be love and bliss. So my next morning's Amrit Vela was looking at Shiv Baba the sun and thinking, Shiv Baba, who are you in your core? And I think ultimately Shiv Baba is bliss. He said that in the Morally on Tuesday. I am the blissful one. I am bliss. And when he first spoke through Brahma, he introduced himself as Nijanand Swarupam. I am the embodiment of bliss. Then his second line was Gyan Swarupam. I am the embodiment of knowledge. And his third line was Prakash Swarupam. I am the embodiment of light. And so I think bliss is at the core of Shiv Baba. But then we've also had this narrative about love. And when you hear Every Day's Morally, you're hearing love, aren't you? That love is really the essence of everything. And we had that very powerful and beautiful Morally I think 2 Saturdays ago on the Shiv mantra, that it was 18th January 1994. So it'll flip around on the Sundays in a few months as well. And Baba was saying that to be merged in Shiva's love is complete knowledge. It's complete enlightenment. And he was teaching us in that morally that don't labor, just focus on merging in love and watch what happens. Watch the magic happen. So love and bliss in the sun of knowledge's core. Then that next layer where the nuclear fusion occurs in the sun, there's that lot of energy. And I was viewing that as where the knowledge is. So he said, I am the embodiment of knowledge, Gyan Sarupa. And the morally is full of activity. It really gets us going. We would never be thinking about these things if we weren't listening to the morally. Suddenly we're thinking about things that had never occurred to us, or we're really looking at things in depth. So the moralies are very stimulating, and they create this reaction. So knowledge, the power of knowledge. So this next layer of the sun, of Shiva, is where the knowledge is. Then there was the layer of fire, which is turning, the iron exists. The iron is being turned into gas. So I was seeing that as the layer of purification. He is the purifier. And being in his presence, so I, the soul, have all this alloy of iron, this alloy of copper. I am heavy. I am impure. And as I connect with the sun, he's like oxidizing, he's like transforming the hardness within me and turning it into gas. And what's interesting about the sun, it's like, it's not that it pollutes the sun. It's not that it pollutes Shiva. It's that he is somehow able to evaporate it. And so it's this intensity of his fire. And then the next layer of the sun is the photosphere, which is the light. And our entire, people describe Earth as the Goldilocks planet, which is linked with that children's story of Goldilocks and the three bears, that she tries the porridge in one place, it's too hot, the next one is too cold, but the third one is just right. So in our solar system, the positioning of the Earth is at the accurate distance from the sun, so that the light reaches the Earth at a particular, and the heat reaches at a particular frequency and temperature that life can exist. So everything we eat, like all the vegetable, the greenery, everything is actually grown through photosynthesis. It's grown through the sunlight. So you eat a vegetable, you're eating sunlight. And then even animals that eat other animals, they eat vegetarians. Like there's a vegetarian, someone who's eaten a vegetable in that food chain. And so even animals that eat other animals are eating sunlight. It's just that those animals that eat the vegetables have merged the sunlight into their flesh, and that's what they're eating. So we are always eating sunlight. And so Shiva's energy really rejuvenates the soul. It's what gives us this sense of life again. So Baba's been talking a lot about adoption, the new birth, your new father and mom. And so Shiva's light, the light of knowledge, the light of love, and just this light that brings us, makes us light again as well. So that was a really great experience from Monday, and then experimenting with that in the week. And then on Tuesday, I think it was Tuesday, Tuesday and Wednesday, Ranjan Ben and I went to see a play that was occurring again in the Warwick University Plaza. And it was a theatre company that was depicting our relationship with water and how we just dispose all sorts of plastics and rubbish into the water, which makes the animals struggle. So it was a wonderful visual theatre where this actress, this gymnast really, was suspended in the air and she's swimming like a fish. So there's like the hydraulic chain and she's struggling through all of the netting and plastics, and it was a really great experience. So again, this whole thing of pollution, how pollution affects the animals. And then hearing Baba's message from New York, Baba was saying that other people's heavy energy is like the COVID virus, and it's going to affect you. And you have to take precautions. You have to have the ability to social distance emotionally and mentally. And you have to have the ability to put on a mask, which would be Baba's love, Baba's light, Baba's happiness. And so, you know, looking at putting all these good experiences together, you know, it really has been enjoyable this week. And then the tests have also come. So I think I mentioned to all of you previously that we have a relative living with us who has mental health issues and little things, and suddenly there's an explosion and lots of negativity and abuse. And so Ranjit and I have been tolerating that, but also, you know, looking to see where, as Brahmins, you always have to check yourself. You can never blame anyone. It's always ultimately a checking point. And then yesterday, Ranjit and I went for a walk in a little wooded area near to our home. And as we were leaving the park, I saw a lady with a couple of dogs, and we just left. We were just walking away. And those two dogs, she had not put them on a leash, and they came for me, both dogs, just full pelt, running towards me. Now, in that moment, I didn't know what to do, really. How do you handle that? So I just stood still, tried to look very non-threatening, just stood still, and didn't do anything, just to show that I was not threatening, no sudden movements. And they were right. I mean, she was really struggling to even catch up with them. They were not listening to her as the owner. And one was a terrier, the other was like a bulldog type of, and they were right at me, but I was just not moving. And they didn't bite me. And one of them, it was a little scratch on my knee as he was leaving, but didn't break the skin. But it was a shock. It was a shocking a little moment, because it happened so suddenly. It's not like you're preparing for anything. It's not like you've done anything to provoke it either. And so I've been saying in the daily Morley revision classes about how testing is part of quality assurance. And without something being tested, you cannot trust it. You cannot trust it. We are assuming every time we step on a train, in a plane, in a car, in a building, that this has been regulated. And we don't want a simple test. So if someone says to you, well, I've got this car, it's actually only completed 50% of its tests. I'll sell it to you for half price. You're going to say, no, thank you very much. No, thank you. That will not motivate you, because it's not that 50, you know, they'll say, well, 50% is quite a lot of tests. It's quite good. And you'll be saying, I don't want quite good. I want over testing. I don't want under testing. I want over testing. And so this is how I'm viewing all of these papers that are coming, that we reach a point as Brahmins where our tolerance has improved a great deal. You know, we look back to what we were, and our capacity has definitely grown. We are able to accommodate. We've had a couple of blessings, and also the bold message was about decision making. So we're seeing ourselves discerning better. We're seeing ourselves deciding better. We're seeing ourselves, okay, we're practicing our concentration. We've had a couple of blessings, haven't we, about karma yoga, our ability to concentrate our minds. We're working on that. We're getting better. We've had 10 days of Murlis on eliminating waste, reducing our waste words, not speaking about others, not looking at others, not thinking about. So all Brahmins are definitely working on those things, and we're improved. But the problem is, improvement, relative improvement, is not enough for a plane. It's not enough for a train. It's not enough for a car, not enough for a building. You have to continue testing. So once you reach a threshold that it passes a particular test, you actually have to go to the next threshold. You have to go further. Because just being better than it was is not good enough. And so Baba is saying to us that you can see around the world what's going on. Suddenly, wars are starting. Suddenly, something is happening. Suddenly. And your decision making is definitely better than it was. But in the moment where you're not expecting something to happen, when you could suddenly go into a sort of a shock, you could be scared, you could be frightened. So one thing I do every day is at Amrit Vela, Baba says you can ask for blessings at Amrit Vela. So I only ask for one thing actually every day, and that is protection and preservation. That's all I ask for. These are my daily requests, that today I need your protection and I need you to preserve this physical body because I have to look after other souls. And so this body is precious in that sense. And as I say yesterday, those dogs just came. They didn't bite. And I just said afterwards, thank you, Bob. I could see it working. I don't think it was, because I didn't know what to do. And how do you do it? But it was in the moment. It wasn't that I just took a decision to just stand still. Okay. It probably was the right decision, seeing nothing happened. But I couldn't have planned that decision. So Baba's saying in the moment, things are going to happen, just will test you, shocking. It'll be your vulnerability. And so I've never had dogs or pets or things, so I don't really know what I'm doing. And that test paper came. Then where you've got people who are negative, that came in the bold message, people with negativity. So Ranjin Ben and I, we'll try and be positive, we'll try and be loving and caring, and we might be met with negativity from relatives. And it'll be very abusive, very negative, very mean. And in the past, we'll take sorrow from that. But now we're seeing we're not taking the sorrow. We're not having that. But still, there's work for us to do where we don't absorb negative vibrations. So I'm working on that level. So for 2 or 3 days, what I find is that I will feel heavy. Not because I've taken sorrow, but because the other person is thinking so negatively about me that I'll absorb their negative vibrations. And I'll unconsciously even begin thinking negatively. And that will then become conscious after a few days. So I think I can understand what you are implying, sister. And that's why I chose today's morally topic, that Ranjin Ben and I have read this morally that we're going to hear today 50 times. I don't know, many, many times. We used to have a practice that we would read a Sakara morally every morning and an Avyakt morally every evening. And so we got through a lot of moralies. And this was one of our favorite ones. It's quite fascinating. And as I say, I'm going to move into the morally now because I think that we'll have questions afterwards and we can have a bit of a discussion afterwards. But before I do that, I can see Juliet Ben on the screen. Welcome, greetings, lovely to see you. Did you want to say anything or ask anything before we begin with the morally? Okay, so let's move into the morally and then let's come back again and have some discussion. So I'm going to hand over to Ranjin Ben.
Om Shanti, good morning to all.
Shanti, good morning.
Good morning.
This is Avyakt Bhattala. So on this only in Hindi when I read it says about the stage, how to make seed stage easy. So this is 24th July 1970. So 1970. And same date is like 24th July 69. Baba explained how to have a seed stage. So might be worth reading that Murli if you have time, or
we'll do it another Saturday.
We will do, yeah. But this is how to make that stage easy. Baba spoke a year after that. That one, this other one was how to have a seed stage. It was in 69, and this is 70. So Baba is making it, explaining how to make it easy. So create the avyak stage whilst being vyakt. So vyakt, V-Y-A-K-T. Vyakt means here in this corporeal body and in this corporeal world. And avyakt means, as you all know, just put A before the V and it becomes avyakt, means beyond this physical world and body, and that is subtle region. So Baba is saying, create the avyakt stage whilst being vyakt. What stage would you call the stage that everyone is sitting in at present? Do you have the avyakt? In bracket it says non-body, subtle, angelic. So 3 meanings. Avyakt means non-body, subtle, angelic. Stage whilst being vyakt, corporeal. Can you stabilize yourself in the stage of a point when you are meeting Bap Dada? And so few Baba's children gave their own ideas. At what time are you specially able to create the stage of being stable as a point? Bap Dada asked. When you sit in solitude, or can you also have that stage whilst walking and moving around? This final effort is that of remembrance. This is why it is necessary for you to understand clearly in your intellect the stage of remembrance and your own experience. So Baba pointed out that even whilst you are moving around, this stage should be there, because this final effort is that of remembrance. This is why it is necessary for you to understand clearly in your intellect the stage of remembrance and your own experience. What is the stage of a point form? And what is the avyak stage? What is the experience of each of them? So experience of point form as well as avyak stage or angelic stage. Because there are two names, there must definitely be a difference between the experiences of the two. At present, the stage of being stable in the point form is not just lacking, but it is almost non-existent. Baba gave a result or pointed out the weakness in the stage. At present, the stage of being stable in the point form is not just lacking, but it is almost non-existent. You should also practice this stage. You should be able to take a few minutes in between and practice the stage of the point form. Just as on certain days, everyone maintains silence for 3 minutes. And even the traffic is stopped. All activities are stopped. When you carry out any task or when you are talking, you must also stop the traffic of your thoughts. You must stop the thoughts of the mind or the activities you are carrying out with your body for 1 minute every now and then. And practice this. Practice the point form. Baba is saying, take some time, 1 minute, 2 minutes, whatever you can manage, and practice. If you do not practice this, how and when will you be able to create the powerful stage of the point form? This is why it is necessary to practice this. In this short paragraph, Baba used the word practice so many times, 4 or 5 times, I think. In between, if you continue to carry out this practice in a practical way, then the stage of the point form that you find difficult today will become easy as the avyak stage that the majority of you find easy today. When you first started to practice this, you found it difficult. Means once you started to practice avyak, subtle stage, Baba said, now you find it easy. But when you first started to practice this, you found it difficult to maintain the avyak stage whilst being in the corporeal form. Just as it is becoming easy for you to stay in the avyakt or angelic stage and carry out any task in the same way, the stage of point form will also become easy. Maharathis should now practice this stage. Do you understand? If you are not stable in the angelic stage, that is the avyak stage, then you will find it difficult to stabilize yourself in the point form. This is why you must practice this now. In the beginning, in order to practice the avyak stage, you used to sit in solitude and make your own individual effort. In the same way, you must make the effort for this final stage every now and then by making some time for it. This is the final stage. In order to reach this stage, point form stage, you have to pay special attention to one thing. What scheme does the government plan nowadays? Their plans are successful when they first keep the aim to save as much as possible in everything. They plan a savings scheme to save their time, their money, and also their energy. They wish to save energy so that it takes less energy and you are able to save more. They plan a savings scheme of saving in every way. So what scheme should the Pandav government create? you were just told that you have to make effort to attain the stage of the complete success of the stage of the point form. According to how you are moving along at present, all of you say that you remain very busy and that you have very little time to spend in solitude and in journeying. But where will you get that time from? Baba is asking, where would you get that time from? Day by day, service will increase and also the problems will increase. And the speed of thoughts will also increase. At present, you create 10 thoughts in 1 second, and later that speed will be doubled or tripled.
It's something we don't often think about, that there's a karmic account with our own mind. And Baba's explaining to us that one of the features of the burden inside of the soul is that those past burdens, the past accumulation of trauma, experiences, negative thinking, it's like it's building a reservoir inside of us. So if you imagine that as that reservoir fills, the torrent of water that comes out of that reservoir will become more powerful. So Baba is saying that souls are absorbing more and more sorrow and negativity. And what will occur is their speed of thought will continue to grow. So we found this as Iron Age has gone on as souls, that we haven't been able to control our mind. We become more and more overwhelmed by thoughts and feelings. And Baba's saying that as time moves forward, we as Brahmins, if we've not developed our yoga power, but also souls of the world, this is going to be one of the features, that souls become overwhelmed by their own thoughts, just completely consuming them. And it creates lots of odd behaviors as well. So souls begin to behave out of character because of this flood of thoughts, taking them away from their own sense.
That's why Baba pointed out that day by day, service will increase and also the problems will increase. First, Baba said, that's why we need all this practice of angelic and point form. And then Baba pointed out, we have to make time, because day by day, service will increase and also the problems will increase, and the speed of thoughts will also increase. At present, you create 10 thoughts in 1 second, and later that speed will be doubled or tripled. Just as nowadays they count the population to see how much expansion there is in 1 day, in the same way, here the speed of thoughts is very fast. On the one side, there will be the expansion of your thoughts, and on the other hand, there will be expansion of the evil spirits, the souls. But for this, you have to maintain special attention through which you will be able to confront everything that comes in front of you.
So when Baba's referring to that first type of evil spirit, he's meaning souls that have left their body in a very negative state. And so where someone has a lot of feelings of revenge, feelings of harming, and they leave the body, then sometimes the soul does not automatically take another body. And a soul might have harmed another one, and so there's a karmic account there that they've created. And Baba's saying that such souls, the bitterness, the resentment, these things are going to increase. And you might remember a Murli we read on a Saturday many months ago now, the 10th of December 1984. And in that Murli, Baba was explaining that as the confluence age progresses, there's less time to clear karmic accounts. So by the time a soul has taken another, gone into a womb, grown up, and then settled karmic accounts, that's a slower process. So what will happen is souls will actually skip this process of taking bodies, and they will settle accounts in the form of ghosts, in the form of, Baba says, these souls wander around. And sometimes they can trouble another soul. So sometimes schizophrenia and these things, it's a mental illness. Sometimes it's actually some form of a possession, an influence of another soul. And so where souls have these karmic accounts to settle with each other, then this sort of possession can also come. So this is the first type of evil spirit that Baba's referring to.
Baba said, for this, you have to maintain special attention through which you will be able to confront everything that comes in front of you. That is, in order to understand clearly whatever happens, you must remember two words. One is the difference, and the other is mantra. So difference in Hindi, it is A-N-T-A-R, antar, and the other word is mantra, M-A-N-T-R-A. So that one is in English, Baba, you all are familiar with the word mantra. So these two mantra, one is the difference antar and the other is mantra. Whatever happens, check whether it is right or not. Is it like that of Bap Dada or not? Is it equal to Bap Dada or not? So when you check this difference at every moment, you will be able to apply a note or a dot within a second. You have to apply a dot. If you have to do that, you will begin to do that. So you have to keep note and dot in your awareness too. The difference and the mantra will both take place in a practical way. If you do not forget either of them, no problem or evil spirit will be able to oppose you. The problems will be burnt away in 1 second. Evil spirits cannot remain in front of you. So you have to make this effort. Do you understand? Do you want to clarify that?
Baba's giving us a question to trigger our conscience. Is what I'm about to do equal to Bap Dada? Is what this person is saying I should do equal to Bap Dada? So that's what Baba means about discerning the difference. And it can be tricky sometimes. So we got to have a clear understanding of the Murli, clear understanding of who Baba is and what he wants. And then Baba's saying, as soon as you ask yourself that question, your conscience will be triggered. And you can take a decision not or dot and just move on. So don't do something if it's not right, and then you can also just put a full stop and move on.
Now, in brackets, someone asked Bap Dada, what is the form of evil spirits? And Baba's answer was, or response, Bap Dada said, their very clear form is shown when they enter specific souls. However, evil spirits also have an incognito form. Whilst moving along, you are able to see an specially bad sanskar of someone in its influential form. The effect of that will be that that soul's head will 1 minute say one thing, and the next minute it will say something else. And it will say that too with a lot of force. His stage will not be stable in one stage. He will distress himself and also cause distress to others. It is very easy to recognize and move away from the evil spirits that come in a very clear form. However, evil spirits do not come in front of you in a clear form very often. They come in an incognito way a lot more. And in ordinary words, you say, his head seems a little crazy. But at that time, there is such a force of evil, that is of bad sanskars, that soul is just like an evil spirit. Just as evil spirits cause a lot of trouble, in the same way, such souls also cause a lot of trouble. This will happen a lot more. So Baba has drawn our attention that this will happen a lot more. These evil sanskars will come in front of us a lot more. This is why you were told to create a savings scheme to save your time, your thoughts, and your power, and in between, increase the stage of stabilizing yourself in the point form. The more you have the stage of the point form, the less the spirits, the less the evil spirits or evil sanskars will attack you. And your shakti form will liberate such souls. So did you catch that? Two things we have to do. Baba said the more you have the stage of the point form, the less the evil spirits and evil sanskars will attack you. And your shakti form will liberate such souls. You also have to do this service. So Baba calls that a service, our stage. Shakti form, point form will serve. You also have to liberate the evil spirits because it is now the end of the final moments. And so the evil spirits and the evil sanskars will reach their extremity and then finish. All the rubbish will come out and be burnt away. So then, how will you be able to confront all these problems if you are not liberated from your own problems? This is why you are told to create a savings scheme and put it into a practical form. For only then will you be able to save all the souls. Explaining to someone or giving a lecture is not the only service. Now the form of service is becoming very subtle. And so increase the stage of your subtle form. All this will be revealed and then it will disappear. Before it disappears, it will first be revealed, only then will it disappear. Service has to increase to such an extent that each of you has to carry out the task of 10. So we'll have to do the service that 10 people, it will take 10 people to do service. Each one, Baba says. Service has to increase to such an extent that each of you has to carry out the task of 10. How many arms do they show the Shaktis with? The meaning of arms is to be a helper in service to that extent. Pandavas think that the arms are only of the Shaktis. Pandavas means brothers. Do you know what the Pandavas have been shown as? They are shown as very tall. South India, there is a temple to Pandavas, very tall and very strong. So Baba says Pandavas are shown as being helpers. They are shown as very tall. This is a sign of the Pandavas being helpers. It is not tall body, but a tall intellect. For the Pandavas to run ahead means the Shaktis move ahead too. To keep the Shaktis in front is a sign of their race. Acha. So Baba often says Pandavas are the planning and Shaktis, are kept in front to do things. So Om Shanti. So I'm sure this last passage, you might need clarification, or if you have anything, Shailan. Om Shanti. We'll read some more some other time.
So the second type of evil spirit is linked with this increase in the speed of thought that Baba was referring to. That Baba is, in our everyday language, we use the term a mental health pandemic that we are seeing right across the world. People are struggling more and more with their mental health. And so Baba is saying that the speed of thoughts are going to continue to increase because whatever is subconscious inside of a soul, it's been suppressed inside of a soul, it's going to come out in order to be finished. A soul cannot return to the soul world with any burden. And therefore, it must all be burnt away down here. We have an opportunity to do this through knowledge and yoga, and we must take this opportunity. Because anything that's remaining, it's going to come and bother us. And I think we've all had these experiences where, let's say, you had a past trauma, and that trauma has got this imprint in your subconsciousness. The pain is there, it's very live. And it's affected your heart, it affects your pattern of thinking. Now, you cannot take that trauma back with you to the soul world. It has to end now. There's a logic there. But if we don't deal with this through Baba's love, through investing in that yoga, then it's going to come out anyway. but it's going to come out without us controlling it, without us being ready to deal with it. So it will overwhelm us. And this is what Baba is calling the evil spirit of an old sanskar. You find this in some news stories as well, where you can't understand why someone has behaved so horrifically. You hear these stories sometimes of some boy, they walk into a school and they begin shooting all these children, and then you see their parents being interviewed, and it's a lovely family, you know, everything is great, you know, it's not like they've had particularly negative experiences even, and for some reason they've gone and performed horrific actions. And this is the evil spirit of a sanskar. So Baba's saying that a soul then becomes like an evil spirit themselves. They're so overwhelmed. There are many, many instances where someone, say they're in a relationship, so domestic abuse is a very, very big issue right around the world. So living with anyone is difficult. And what you find is that people, there might be doctors, lawyers, really intelligent people, but the stress and tension of living with someone is so raw that someone ends up hitting someone, someone ends up murdering someone even. And this is what Baba is calling the evil spirit. It's like they've gone out of their head. What are you doing? That can then also affect the physical body. So with some souls, those evil spirits of the old sanskars, their thoughts are going round and round and round and round, that it actually creates an imbalance in the brain. So the person develops a physical mental illness, because a mental illness is the brain going out of balance somehow. There's some sort of chemical imbalance in the body. And so then it can actually become a permanent illness. For other souls, it can be like a wave. And Baba's saying that that's going to increase because it has to come out to be finished. You have to face your own first, right? So Baba's saying, as long as you've got issues, how will you liberate anyone else? You know, you've got to firstly focus on yourself. And Shiv Baba and Brahma Baba, they are available to help you. So we've got to get on with that. And this is why we have to have test after test after test, because it's not enough just to be okay or a bit better, because we actually got to get stronger and stronger and stronger. Then Baba's putting in front of us a very, very powerful stage, the Master Son of Knowledge stage. Shiv Baba, the point, is able to burn away our old sanskars, our past sins. And he's explaining to us that's because he's constantly stable as a point. And so Baba's explaining that even in, if you think about it in logic terms, scientists discovered that the nuclear energy that's inside of the sun can be recreated on Earth as they split the point, they split the atom. So the point actually contains all the energy. And they've restarted the Hadron Collider at CERN. And this is where they are putting tiny, you can't see these particles, they're so tiny, and they're colliding them against each other to create this energy. So how our world is powered is through points. It's these points that create an energy as they interact with each other. So Baba is saying this is the same in spirituality. Actually, the more that you practice packing up your thoughts, withdrawing from this external world, and you practice concentrating as an incorporeal point, separate from this drama, it's not that you become smaller, it's that your aura becomes bigger. So the more you're practicing being a point, you're growing your aura. You're becoming a sun again. The sun is a star. So you being a star means you're becoming a sun again. So Baba is saying the Brahmin soul has the potential to burn away others' evil sanskars. So he's saying, don't just be happy with ordinary day-to-day service. You could actually be doing service on the level that Sri Baba did. And this is a morally from July 1970. It was the 24th of July 1970 that we just heard. So Baba would have been talking to the senior daddies at that time. They would have been about 35 years in knowledge, something like that at that time. And so we saw how their stages continued to develop over the years, and they became just like Baba did, and they developed that yoga power. So Baba's now throwing the gauntlet at us. He's saying, come on, all of you, you also need to get yourself to this stage. So you need to do it for yourself. So the more powerful you become, then Mama used to talk about this quite a lot, that she was determined to reach a stage that the sanskar didn't take time to change. She was just able to burn it. And so you might remember there was a morally a few weeks ago where Baba was saying that Mama, she is Jagadamba, she is Kali. And Kali is this fearsome goddess that kills the demons. And so what Baba was saying is that Mama was able to just look at an evil sanskar and she just burnt it away. And this morning Baba was saying to us that look at the sun, it can separate, it can extract the salt from the water, it can evaporate the water and leave the salt behind. So can you not do that for another's personality? Can you remove their saltiness? So Baba's making us aware that there's a potential inside of the Brahmin soul. And we can get into a habit of thinking everything has to be incremental. And okay, we're all developing, but Baba's saying you can reach a point where it's no longer incremental. You'll be able to just burn your own sanskars in a second. You'll be able to burn others' sanskars away for them and liberate them. So let me stop there and invite questions and comments from those of you that are here.
Shanti.
Yes.
This was very, very timely, actually. Situation the last couple of weeks have come out like this. And it's an evil spirit of an old sanskar. And I just want to make sure, I want to understand the method for burning somebody else's evil spirit of an old sanskar. What's the process of doing that?
Right. So first of all, I think it's certainly something that we have to do for ourselves. And I don't think we can do this for a while, most Brahmins. I recall having an evening chit-chat session with Daddy Janki. This would have been around about 95, 96. And she had invited all of the young brothers, the Kumars, to the Global Retreat Center. So I remember sitting in the anteroom, you know, the one with the blue carpet, and sitting on the floor, and she was chatting. And that Sunday's morally, Baba had introduced the concept, which is from Hinduism. A praise of God is Bab Gadeshwara, the one who can cut away sins. And he said that the 8 jewels will be able to reach this stage where they can actually cut away others. So my question to Daddy was that how could it be possible for a human soul to do this? Because you know, Shiv Baba is the only one who can cut away sins. And so how does this work? So I remember her going into silence and really thinking deeply. And then she said that it's not that the soul is actually cutting away another's sins. Only Shiv Baba can do this. But when you become as pure as Baba, your feelings for another's liberation begin to work in such a powerful way that the soul actually becomes liberated. So he was talking about these 8 jewels and having this capacity. And I think for many Brahmins, why we have got to where we are is because people like Daddy Janki, Daddy Prakashmani, Daddy Gulzar, they've actually been sitting in yoga for all of us. Yeah. Brahma Baba, Mama. So they became very, very pure. And then their good wishes begin to work like a blessing, like magic. So for me, at this point, I know I don't have the power to even do this for myself. So I'm working, as I described earlier, on connecting with Baba as the son of knowledge and working on deepening my experience of Baba being a son. Because even the power, even being able to absorb, you know, brothers and sisters might remember that I had this as a topic last month. How do I increase my absorption rate? So I'm always thinking about this, that how can I develop my yoga so that I know Shiv Baba has got like nuclear power, but yet I'm only changing incrementally. And so I am not actually absorbing that full power from Baba, but Brahma Baba and Mama had the experience that they connected with Shiv Baba and they just changed. Brahma Baba was Dada Lekraj, and then he was Sri Krishna. People began having visions of Sri Krishna immediately. It's like something just emerged. Baba gave Mama 24 hours. He said to her, "You've got 24 hours to decide if you want to be Lakshmi. Come back tomorrow and tell Baba." And she came the next day, and it was as if something had emerged. So they didn't take time. They were able to absorb this like nuclear energy from Shiv Baba, and their sanskars just flipped. And this is for me what I'm trying to develop, that can I get to a point where I'm no longer battling with sanskars, working on things, but actually I can experience the sun of knowledge just finishing things for me. Then, if I can do that over a period of time, I can become more like the sun. So in this Murli we just heard, Baba was saying, you've got 2 things you've got to do. One is increase your savings. So have a look where you're using your extra thoughts, your extra words, your extra time, and cut that down, because you have to be able to pack up. And we know that the more we're in expansion, the harder it is to pack up. And secondly, he said, so again, he would be talking to the daddies at that point. And he said, you're very busy, you're doing lots of service, but at the beginning, when you were all in Karachi, you were taking time to sit in yoga. So I know that one thing that Daddy Janki added in was this evening 7 to 7:30. So Didi Manmohini and Daddy Janki, they started off evening yoga for everyone. And this would be after this Murli, that don't just go and be busy the whole day, but actually dedicate time. And Baba, traffic control started, I think, 1974, 5. So this was also subsequent to this Murli. So you're hearing Baba saying, stop in between, practice being bodiless. So all these systems then began to be created in the Brahmin family after Baba was suggesting all these things. So the daddies then built it into our routine. So I think Baba's saying to us, give importance, of course, to your Amrit Vela. And then in the day, he said, even while you're walking, just disappear. Go and become a point. in between, have your traffic controls. Then block out some time in the day, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and just practice being a point. And so through this, we will, it's like an exercise we're developing. And so our power of the point will continue to build.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any ideas or want to say anything? Chit.
It's like this session was just answering so many questions I put to Baba this over time, but particularly this morning at Amrit Vela. But I'd like to get some advice, just going back to basics, and that's how to become a point. I'm finding that very challenging. It's not taking me like that. I'm having to work and search very hard to find the point. Whereas there was a time when it was very easy. But it's almost like as we come to the end, we're coming towards the end, it's like I'm having to go back to the beginning again. So
yes, me too. Yeah, me too. I resonate with that. I'm also doing that. And you see, when it was easy, Baba was doing a lot for you. So he gave you the taste of what's possible. And then any good teacher lets go of it and says, okay, now you students, you got to do it by yourself, because when you do it by yourself, it becomes yours. And so this is why it's more of a struggle. So what I do is two things. Firstly, I visualize myself as this shaligram, this point in the soul world. And you've seen this week those images from NASA of the telescope going into the galaxy. So I like to think about the soul world as this universe that needs to be explored. So I don't just sit still in the soul world, because I find if I just try and sit still in the soul world, my mind doesn't stay still. So I like to think of myself as like a rocket, an astronaut, going into an entire universe that I'm going to go and explore. And what are these different parts of the soul world? So I like to first of all do that. Then the second practice of the point is when I'm with people and it's seeing them as a point. So I think one point form is seeing myself as a point. The second point form is seeing that soul as a point. So just to talk to the soul in the forehead, and that accumulates energy. But then, as you say, I think those two practices have to then almost like filling a balloon, so that we really begin to feel that we are that point separate from the body. So I'm working on those two practices. And at the moment, I feel my intellect is still firmly anchored down into this world and into these karmic accounts, really. So how I am viewing it is that as I continue to practice, that anchor will continue to lift. And I will begin to feel more and more that it's more normal to be the point and less normal to be the body. Does that help?
That it really does. Thank you.
I think with perseverance, we've got to keep going.
Yeah, I like the idea of in the soul world not being static but moving around. I think part of my challenge has been trying to be static, and me thinking being static means being stable, but it doesn't.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's the same for me. So I find that I now have an excitement. Otherwise, I think I used to find the soul world boring. You know, here I have a zest for life, and there It's like non-living almost.
Yes.
But Baba says you're the master of the element of Brahm. So I like to think, okay, I can't. And he says the soul is like a rocket. So here is a body, I'll never go into space down here. But there I'm a master. There I am a rocket. So he was saying this morning as well that all these elements are unlimited, they're endless. So why would we just not go and want to explore and have a look there? So yeah, I find that quite exciting. And then I'm beginning to feel that there are different, like in our universe down here, we're seeing there's different colors and patterns and things. So I think that's what makes it more exciting and motivating me to want to practice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Benjamin, do you want to say anything?
No.
Would anyone else like to make any final comments? We've had a very, very deep and powerful Morgan. I'm really pleased it was relevant for all of you, because I really chose it for myself, but I'm pleased it's been relevant for all of you.
Very
Can I-
timely, brother. It's very timely. Also, like Sister Juliet there, it's because my role seems to be in the drama is that I always tend to come across the souls that are dealing with evil spirits of old Sanskar. Because Baba trusts me, he knows that I'll be able to deal with it. I just see it. I don't look for it. It just comes in front of me. So that's why this was very significant for me, because I deal with it all the time, and particularly with Brahmin souls. And I always let them see themselves. It's like, look, this is something that's a situation and you're going to have to deal with this. And I really sort of am firm with it. I don't sort of play around. And it keeps coming and coming. And Baba, I feel Baba trusts me because he knows I'll see it and I'll recognize it and I'll know how to deal with it, and not to make the person feel guilty or to make the person feel any kind of way whatsoever. But I like the term an evil spirit of an old Sanskar. I like that. So this is something that I can use with these souls. And they hear that the beauty of it is that they hear me. So they don't get defensive or want to go in any conflict with me. They hear what I'm saying and they work on trying to rectify it. So that's the gift that I have, that souls do hear what I'm saying and don't battle with me or battle with themselves. And so because I connect with Baba, I just say, Baba, this is your child. You help me on how to help this soul. You're the one, this is your child. You will guide me on what I need to do.
I think that's a really good point, that we don't want the other person feeling guilty and heavy. There is a way. And even using this phrase, the evil spirit of an old Sanskar, Baba is implying that don't see the soul as evil. The soul is always kind and loving and peaceful, even if we're looking at her horrors in the world. But there's some evil Sanskar that's overwhelmed them. And so Baba's vision is always, okay, the soul is always good in the inside. The soul, let's have a look at that soul. That's the soul that I'm taking back. And so we also have to, as you're saying, keep that in our vision.
That's what I always see, brother. I always thought that I was, in general, before coming into Gyan, I always see the good in everyone. And I used to think that I was making bad choices with friends. No, it's just that I was seeing the good. They just didn't see the good in themselves. So Gyan really helped me to understand what it was that I was going through with souls.
Yeah, that's another good point. Okay. So if Juliet Ben, did you want to come in with anything else?
I just wanted to say something on the term, and I'm really glad that you both picked it up, was the difference. I was listening to it and I didn't understand it. And, but you explained it really, really well. And it's a technique I hadn't thought of in that way, is this something is this in alignment with Baba's teachings? And if not, then do I apply a not or a dot? I like that very much. But what is the mantra? You said the difference in the mantra. What is the mantra in this regard?
Yes, Baba was talking to the daddies, and they would be very familiar with this line because it comes up in Mama's classes. So Baba's actually taken it from Mama.
Yeah.
And she, in Hindi, it really sounds good. So she used to say, those that remember the Maha Antar will remember the Maha Mantra. And so those who remember the great difference will be able to remember the great mantra, which is to remember Baba. So Baba says, Manmana Bhav is the great mantra. Focus your mind on me. And so today, as you say, Baba was evoking that and making it clear for us that what does that mean, the great difference. And so he's saying to us that often our decision making is incorrect because we're not actually perceiving things to be that different. We're in this cloudy phase. And even as Brahmins, we can get into what's acceptable and normal rather than actually what's Baba's standard.
Yeah.
And we can do that for ourselves as well. We sort of just get used to being in a certain way, and so this is really what he was evoking. So to be really with Baba, Manmana Bhav, the great mantra, you're going to need to align yourself in your decision making.
Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome.
Shakti.
Well, I'm really very pleased. Sister Lynette, I think her connection dropped out. She mentioned something in the chat, but she also said it was pertinent morally for her. So I'm really pleased that it's worked out in drama as being useful to everyone. Those of you tuning in later on YouTube, again, I hope it's all very useful to you. But I appreciate that there are topics in today's Morally which are a little bit sensitive, a little bit confusing. So if anyone does need to talk about anything or ask anything, please don't hesitate to send me a WhatsApp message or question. And we should also understand the motives behind why Baba is talking to us about these things. So don't be afraid of these concepts either. But we've got to be aware of the time we're on, and that's why Baba wants us eyes open, ready, and that's why he's taking up these topics. So I hope that everyone takes that in that spirit as well. So have a great week, everyone. Om Shanti. See you.
Om Shanti. You too.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.